Hello everyone, now let's make the Grazing Highland cow. The materials kit includes a step-by-step instruction sheet for you to refer to while crafting. This is the color chart. The middle section contains a 1:1 scale pattern to help you select the wool. The color codes are marked beside it, and the blended color areas can be created according to these codes. First, observe the finished product. From the side, you can see the hair in the cow's horns, the hair on the chest and the grass on the mouth. The nose is slightly raised. It has a three-dimensional effect. First, fill in base part, then proceed to create the three-dimensional areas. Before we start, let's take out our felting handle. 1 medium needle. 1 fine needle. What we are teaching everyone to make our small dolls. So we are providing these two types of needles. A medium needle is slightly longer than the fine needle. The tip of the medium needle is also slightly thicker than the fine needle. Both types of needle tips will have many small barbs. During the felting process, the barbs move the wool, causing the wool to interlock to achieve the felting effect. The medium needle felts faster and is used for shaping in the early and middle stages. The felting speed with fine needles is relatively
Used
slow
for
later light felting to make the surface of the doll smooth and even. When making large or even larger works, the following will be used.
Coarse needle,
3-pronged needle, 7-pronged needle. These types of needles have a particularly fast felting speed, so they are all used for making large works. The medium and fine needles provided for everyone make it easier to create small dolls. First time using a felting needle, we need to first take a needle out of the needle holder. New needles are coated with anti-rust oil to prevent the felting needle from rusting. Before we use it, you can use a paper towel to wipe off the rust-proof oil on the surface. The correct way to clean the needle is gently rub in the direction of the needle. After cleaning, it can be used together with the felting handle. When cleaning the needle, be sure not to wipe back and forth. This can easily lead to the needle accidentally piercing your finger, causing injury. If the needle is not used for a long time, avoid needle rusting. You can apply rust-proof oil or edible oil to the surface. After oiling, place it in the syringe for storage. Using the needle. When felting wool, the needle needs to be kept vertical to the wool being felted. Insert the wool in the direction of the needle tip. When pulling the needle out, it needs to be pulled out in the opposite direction of where the needle just entered. Then repeat. Continuously repeat. This will allow the wool to felt. When felting wool, make sure to apply force in the direction of the needle. Do not press the needle. Pressing the needle can easily lead to breakage. Also, do not lift the needle upward after inserting it into the wool. This can also cause the needle to break. Then take out our handle. Pull out the cork inside the handle. You can see a relatively large head. A relatively small head. One end of the needle with a hook stuck in the groove at the smaller end. Then we put our needle back into the handle. This loose way won't work. Push it in tightly with some force. This way it won't loosen and will be secured. Next, we need to prepare the workbench. In order to better demonstrate to everyone, the video uses a white foam pad. Before starting, you can put on finger cots. A shorter one is worn on our thumb. The longer one is worn on our index finger, like this. For beginners, wearing finger cots is very necessary. It can prevent our needle from injuring our hands while felting. Once you are skilled, you can take off the finger cots to operate. In the instructional video, to help everyone see better, the demonstrator did not wear finger cots. For better distinction in the instructional video, we used the wooden handle to represent the fine needle, and the blue handle to represent the medium needle. In reality, you may receive 2 wooden handles. You can use one wooden handle to install the fine needle, and one wooden handle to install the medium needle. For ease of distinction, you can make marks on the felting handle. There are 2 types of felting handles, wooden and plastic. The functions of both types are the same, it's just the material that is different. The crafting is done on the felt fabric. Take out the gray felting mat. You need to work on the felting mat during the process. Place the felt fabric with the printed pattern facing up on the felting mat for felting. The felting mat provides cushioning for the felting needle. Make sure the area being felted is always on the felting mat during the felting process. For easier demonstration, I am replacing the gray felting mat with a large foam pad here. Both serve the same purpose. Place the felt fabric on the felting mat. Confirm the felting needle is ready, then set it aside. Leave some space around the felt fabric to make it easier to mount on the embroidery hoop later. First, create the background section, working from top to bottom. The sky is a solid blue color, with the corresponding color code marked beside it. Blended color means mixing multiple colors of wool together. Take out seal blue wool in color number 18. Take a portion of it. If there are any impurities, you can pick them out first. You need to tear the wool apart before felting. When tearing the wool, be careful not to tear it horizontally, as this makes it harder to tear apart. The correct method is to tear the wool along the fiber direction vertically, using both hands to pull it apart from the sides. After separating, rotate the wool and overlap it, then pull apart again with both hands, Pinch the wool and separate it once more, rotating and overlapping it again. Hold the wool with both hands and gently pull it apart. This makes it easier to tear the wool. Repeating this process will shorten the wool fibers. This condition is sufficient. You can pinch the torn wool to check its thickness. This thickness represents the wool's thickness on the felt fabric. It should not be too thin or too thick. If it's too thick, there won't be enough wool left. A slight thickness is sufficient, and this thickness is ideal for felting. Take out the felt fabric and start felting from the upper edge. Since the upper edge is curved, fold it downward. Place the wool along the edge and take out the felting needle. Push the needle downward during felting, keeping the direction consistent to avoid breaking the needle. When felting, don't push the needle too deep. If it goes too deep, the wool may be pulled out on the backside. Lightly repeat the felting, and the wool will gradually become firm. Adjust the edge contours as you felt. Use your hand to fold the wool extending beyond the head upwards. Slowly felt it to secure in place, and clearly define the boundary. Repeat felting to firmly secure the wool. The video has been edited. The actual crafting time will be longer, so please be patient. This state is fine. Use your hand to press evenly and check if the thickness is uniform. The thickness should be about to 3 millimeters. Some areas are a bit thin and the edges are not fully filled. You need to take a little more sea blue wool to felt and fill them in. For thinner areas, tear the wool into thin layers and lay them down before felting. Repeat these steps to fill the sky area. If there are angled edges, tear the wool and fold it into a triangular shape. Place it and use the needle to secure it firmly. Adjust the wool area according to the contour lines. Add wool and felt it in the areas that are not fully filled. Also, pay attention to the thickness. When felting sharp corners, you can shape the torn wool into a pointed form. Align the pointed part with the sharp corner and felt it to secure it. This makes it easier to adjust the shape. The video has been edited. The actual crafting time will be longer. Feel free to pause the video and work at your own pace. After felting is complete, use scissors to trim any loose fibers on the surface. The sky is finished. Next, create this blended color area. Since this area is small, take a little less wool from each color. Take a small amount of each of the three colors of wool: number 23 light green, number 18 sea blue, and number 38 cream white in equal proportions. Mix and tear apart. The blended color here doesn't need to be perfectly even. This condition is sufficient. Take a portion of it. This area resembles a triangle. You can layer the wool into a triangular shape. After layering, place it on top and firmly felt it with the needle. Add more wool if the thickness is insufficient. Tuck the wool at the edges inward, and clearly define the boundary lines. Trim the floating wool with scissors. Start making this blended color area below. Since the area is small, you can take a little less wool. Take a small amount of number 24 grass green and number 18 sea blue wool, mixing them in a 1:1 ratio. Take a portion of it. First, fill the narrow gap by rolling the wool into a thin strip and gently rolling with your hands. Use the needle to felt and secure it in place. Then take a bit more mixed wool, fold the edges and felt it on. Crafting complete. Next, create these two blended color areas. Take a small amount of number 23 light green and number 10 goose yellow wool, mix them in a 1:1 ratio and tear apart. Mix to this degree. Take a portion of it. Here is a long strip. Roll the wool into a long strip following the pattern shape. The inside here is flat, so the edge needs to be folded inward. Use the needle to felt and secure. Be sure to avoid areas with trees. If the wool is a bit thick, you can remove some wool. Felt the edge wool inward and clearly define the boundary line. Trim the floating wool with scissors. Use the same blended color wool to create this area. At the small sharp corner, take a bit of wool, shape it into a small point, then felt it onto the pattern's sharp corner to secure it. After felting is complete, trim the surface floating wool. These two areas are complete. Next, create the grassland. Note to leave space for the trees. The blended color for these three areas is the same. Take a small amount of number 24 grass green and number 23 light green wool. Mix and shred them in a 1:1 ratio. This state is sufficient. Take a portion of it. This area is smaller, so fold the wool along the outline to form a rough shape. If there is too much wool, you can remove a small amount. The upper area is finished. Continue using the same blended color wool to create the grassland on both sides below. The grassland here has a curve, so you need to fold the wool first. Adding wool in a small amount helps create a smoother curve. There is a small arc here. You need to felt a small ball separately. Place it here and felt it to secure. Near the edge line here, you don't need to cover it completely. Reserve the area near the edge line first. We'll add a solid color later. Do the same on the other side, reserving the area near the edge line. Tuck the wool at the contour line edge inward to refine and clarify the contour. The blended color areas are completed. Trim the floating wool. Begin filling the bottom part. Take some number 24 grass green wool, tear it into small pieces, place it on the reserved contour edge, and felt it firmly with the needle. Lay a thin layer of grass green wool between the two colors, then use the needle to felt for a natural transition. Repeat the same process on the other side. Trim the floating wool after felting is complete. The finished color transition gradually deepens from top to bottom. Next, make these trees. First, create lighter colored trees. Take a small amount of number 26 blue-green, number 38 cream white, and number 10 goose yellow. We'll use slightly less goose yellow wool, and mix and shred the three colors of wool together. The state after mixing and shredding. Take a part of it. This tree is roughly triangular. Fold the wool into a triangle. After felting, use scissors to trim the floating wool on the surface. Next, make the remaining fir trees. They use the same blended color wool. Take a small amount of number 26 blue-green and number 24 grass-green wool, with slightly more blue-green wool. The tree shape is triangular, so fold the wool into a triangle. You can remove some wool. Trim the floating wool. The background section is completed. At the nose area, first lay a thick layer of number 30 for light brown wool to create a three-dimensional effect. After completing the 3D nose, use dark-colored wool to create the nostrils. Take number 30 for light brown wool and tear it apart. The wool on the entire nose is relatively thick. You can cover the nostrils first. You can start by folding the wool into the shape of the nose. Tuck the wool along the boundary lines inward. After felting is complete, trim any floating wool. The finished nose is quite thick. If it feels too thin, you can continue layering wool to give the nose a three-dimensional effect. Take a small amount of number 27 dark brown wool. Since the nostrils are small, use less wool and roll it into a strip. Fold one end slightly to form the thicker part of the nostril. Place it in the middle position on one side of the nose, and roughly secure it with the needle first. Thinner at the top and thicker at the bottom, shaped like a teardrop. Once finished, repeat the steps to make the other nostril. When making the second nostril, ensure the lowest points of both nostrils are on the same horizontal line, and the highest points are aligned as well. Keep the size and shape of both sides of the nostrils consistent. Felt the top part more finely. Both nostrils are completed. Create the fur on the chest. Take a small amount of number 57 camel wool and tearing it apart. Use only a little at first. If it's not enough, you can add more later to avoid running out of wool. The edge of the chest fur has many small sharp points. For the smaller points, take a bit of wool, fold it in half, twist it into a sharp point shape, and use the needle to felt and secure it. Use the same method to create the next sharp point. Repeat these steps to fill the chest fur area completely. Adjust the boundary line to make it clear. The chest fur area is completed. For the cow horns, first create a three-dimensional effect for the parts within the pattern. The middle of the cow horn is high, the edges are low, like an arch. With both sides at the same height. Finally, make the parts that protrude from the frame. To create the cow horn, take a small amount of number 38 cream white wool and tear it apart. The cow horn part is slightly raised and has some thickness. Fold the wool. The end of the cow horn near the head is wider, and the rolled wool is thicker at this end, which is placed against the head. Now the thickness of the cow horn here matches the background, so it needs to be built up further. Take a little wool, tear it apart, and felt it on. When making the three-dimensional cow horn, the middle line is thicker, and the sides are thinner. Use the needle to felt diagonally from both sides toward the middle to thin the sides. Pay attention to adjusting the shape of the cow horn while felting. This is the state after completing this side. If the thickness is insufficient during felting, add small amounts of wool and multiple layers. Avoid adding too much at once to prevent running out of wool later. Repeat the steps to make the other side. Try to adjust the height and thickness of the two cow horns to be as consistent as possible. Next, make the protruding parts of the horns. Take a small amount of number 38 cream white wool and shred it. Roll it into a cylindrical shape, then fold it in half. The size compared to the picture should be slightly larger than shown. At this point, I have too much wool here, so I need to remove a small amount and roll it again. Leave a bit of wool fluff at one end for layer connection. It can be slightly larger than the pattern. If there is not enough wool, you can add more. Then roll it tightly again. Pinch the wool with your hands and roll it into a strip, then fold it in half. Pinch tightly to prevent the wool from coming apart. Place the wool on the felting mat and felt it to secure. Felt around the edge to fix it, leaving the wool at the bottom end loose to make connecting and securing easier later. At the folded end, felt the wool vertically to form the cow's pointed horn. Be careful with the needle's direction and pressure to avoid pricking your hand. Work slowly to avoid pricking your hand, felting evenly and firmly overall. The felted shape should look like a cylinder when finished. This end is pointed. Use scissors to trim the floating wool. One cow horn tip is completed. After finishing, compare it with the pattern and check the size if it's too large. You can remove some wool from the tail. Roll it with your fingers to make it finer. If it's too small, take some wool and wrap it around the outside, then use the needle to felt it firmly. Add wool little by little each time after felting. Compare the size with the pattern until it's about right. Repeat the steps to make the other cow horn tip. After completing the second one, compare it with the first one to check the size. The one I made later is a bit thin, so I need to add some more wool. After felting, compare the sizes again. Both cow horn tips should be the same size and length. Take out a cow horn tip, separate the wool fibers at the bottom, and place it on the edge of the pattern. Secure it firmly with the felting needle. If the joint feels uneven after felting tightly, add a small amount of wool by tearing it thinly, lay it over the joint, and felt it firmly with the needle. Trim the floating wool with scissors. The cow horn tips are installed. Take out number 27 dark brown wool. You need to roll the wool into curls. Take a small amount of wool. Fold both ends of the wool inward slightly. Twist it tightly by hand. Fold and twist the other end the same way. One completed piece. Repeat the steps and prepare some more curls. Prepare these first, and add more later if needed. First, fill the head when felting. Don't make it too smooth, just roughly fix it. Curly wool doesn't need much felting. Fix it at a few points only to maintain the curly effect. If felted too much, the wool will flatten and lose its curly texture. Repeat the steps to secure the entire head. The edge of the face is a raised, irregular contour. Repeat the steps to make the ears and body. Felt the body. After finishing all the filling, trim the floating wool on the surface. Next, make the flowers on the grassland. Take a small amount of number 10 goose yellow wool and roll it into small balls of varying sizes for later use. Attach the small balls one by felting them onto the surface. The placement doesn't need to be too deliberate, just felt them on casually. The felted state. Then take a small amount of number 26 blue-green wool, roll it into small balls, place them on and felt them firmly. From an irregular shape here, you need to make a slightly larger one. Felt the small balls onto the surface. The completed state. Next, make the hair on the head. For the straight hair part, fold the wool in half and then felt it onto the surface. Secure the position on the outer circle at the top of the head. Take out number 57 camel wool and pinch it from the front section. When taking the wool, the fibers should be slightly longer. Compare the taken piece from the top of the head to the nostril. After folding, it should reach this length. The length can be slightly longer but not too short. Too short will make adjustment impossible. Fold in half. Find the midpoint of the fold and place it on the top of the head. After aligning, separate the wool and hold down the bottom part. Needle felt the middle folded part firmly to secure it. Hang down the hair, needle felt the wool at an angle to fix it. Then secure the surface. Repeat the steps to cover the entire top of the head with wool. After laying the first layer, continue to add a layer of short wool on top. Take a small amount of wool and fold it in half so the length reaches about the tip of the nose. If the wool is longer, you can remove some from the bottom and overlap it on top. Fold it in half so the length is just above the nose, then secure it with the needle. Add a little more wool on the other side. Lift the hair upwards and add a small amount of wool along the head contour near the ears. When felting, work along the head contour. After securing the bottom part, hang down the top part and fix it in place. This side is completed. Repeat the steps to make the other side. Overall completed state. Begin trimming. Use scissors to divide the hair into 3 layers. Insert the scissors here without cutting. Gently part the wool with your hand. Second layer. Be patient while parting the hair. Do not pull hard to avoid pulling out the hair roots. Separate the bottom layer of wool one section at a time. Roughly divided into 5 sections here. Stand the 5 sections of wool up at an angle. Divide the ear hair into 3 sections. Adjusted state of the 3 sections. The longest hair is located just below the nostrils. Trim off the excess hair. After trimming, twist the wool with your hand to bind it together. Make sure the hair in the middle does not cover the nose. Trim off the excess when trimming. Cut a little at a time to avoid cutting too short, which can be difficult to adjust. If the length is still too long, you can trim a bit more. After trimming and adjusting the side, repeat the same steps on the other side. Divide into 3 parts before trimming. If trimmed to flat, tilt the scissors to trim the edges, creating a pointed shape. Our hair adjustment is complete. Hang down the bottom layer. Separate a small portion from the very edge. This portion can be trimmed shorter. Also twist the tail end slightly. The higher up, the shorter the length, which creates better layering. If one portion of wool is too large, you can separate it again. Separate one portion again, trim it, and twist the tail end. After completing this layer, repeat the steps to trim the remaining 2 layers. The higher the layer, the shorter it becomes. After trimming, gently secure the roots with the needle. If you feel it's too long during adjustment, you can trim it again. The completed state. Continue adding 2 layers of finer, shorter hair on top of the head. Press the hair downward and secure the middle part. Twist the tail ends on both sides. Adjust the curve. Finished look. Attach a small amount above the top of the head. Pinch by hand and trim to create the shortest hair on top. The lengths of the hair on both sides don't have to be the same. The finished state of the hair. The grass blades are roughly long triangular shapes, with varying sizes felted in an interlaced pattern, and relatively thin in thickness. The thickness should not be too thick, as being too thick will make the overall appearance unattractive. Take out the color chart and create grass blades according to the picture. Pick a small amount of number 24 grass green wool. Roll the wool into a thin, long strip, folding the front end inward. Pinch the tip tightly with your hand. This is the approximate shape. The thickness should be a bit thin, not too thick. Keep the fluff at the tail end for easier installation later. Next, create the grass blades by the mouth. Tear a small amount of number 24 grass green wool. Then fold it into a triangle. Use the needle to felt and secure it. Felt it thinly, not too thick since this is a small area. Pay attention to the needle direction to avoid pricking your hand. When felting the tip, felt and adjust simultaneously, ensuring the edges are clear. For the wool felted out from the other side, gently felt it back. You can shape the small grass into a curved arc by felting the middle part to adjust the curve. Flip it over and felt it firmly. Trim the floating wool along the edges. One grass blade is completed. Repeat the steps to create thin pieces of varying sizes. You will need a total of 7 grass blades in different sizes. Take out a grass blade and use the needle to secure it above the mouth. Needle felt and secure it toward the nose. Adjust the angle while felting. Repeat the steps to fix the remaining pieces. Assemble them with staggered lengths. Grass blades installation complete. To make the hair here, take a small amount of wool and repeat the hair making method. The length doesn't need to be too long. Don't lay it too thick here. The sides should be slightly shorter after laying one layer. You can add a second layer in the middle with a shorter length. Lay down a small amount. Don't use too much. Lift the second layer. Lift a small amount from the edge. You can use scissors to help. Trim the first layer, then twist it slightly. The trim length can be a bit shorter than the base. Exposing the base underneath will make the overall texture richer and more attractive. Repeat these steps to complete the remaining areas. The first layer is trimmed. Repeat the steps to trim the second layer. The upper layer is shorter than the layer below. The first layer is finished. The hair can face different directions. Chest hair is completed. Display of the overall effect. Mount the finished piece on the embroidery hoop. Take out the embroidery hoop. Loosen the top screw. Try to turn it in all the way. Remove the inner hoop. Take out the finished piece. Here, I'm using another craft for demonstration. The inner hoop should be flush with the edge of the craft. Flip it to the front side. Place the outer hoop on top. Press down along the outline of the craft. After pressing, the inner and outer hoops overlap. A screw should be positioned along the center line of the entire piece. Tighten the screw. Adjust any uneven areas while tightening. Adjust by gently pulling the outer edge of the fabric. If you see white areas along the edge, it means the fabric isn't flat enough. You can pull the edges again to smooth it out. Twist and adjust at the same time. After tightening, check if there is any white space left along the outer edge. Flip to the back. When trimming, be careful to lift the hoop to prevent the hair from rubbing against the table and damaging the shape. Use scissors to trim closely along the edge of the hoop. Be careful not to cut the cow horns while trimming. Trim the fabric closely along the edge with scissors. The trimmed area is fairly smooth, with no edges protruding beyond the frame. The entire back edge is neatly trimmed. Flip to the front. If there are still protruding floating wool on the front edge, you can trim it with scissors. Installation complete. Overall finished product display.